What's going on, everyone? It's me, Hydros, and today we're going to be reviewing 10.1 Preservation Evoker. I had a script for all of this, but I'm going to do this in real time. It is the second week of the season, so I wanted to update you as I'm giving this guide out with what I've been doing. And if you're struggling or if you have questions, maybe I can answer them while doing this as well. So let's get into it. All right, so secondary stats. This is what I have right now. My haste is low, but the reason being is because I have not had any haste gear drop, we'll say. Take these stats as you will. And I will also say that haste is not as crazy for Preservation Evoker as it is for the other healers, right? My recommendation for secondary stats in Mythic Plus is going to be crit first, because crit contributes to damage and healing. Haste or versatility next, because one, you need survivability, as that will also contribute to your mastery. Keeping yourself topped or higher HP will make you heal more, right? So haste reverse, and then last will be mastery, because mastery only contributes to healing, so we're putting that as last in Mythic Plus. Some extra notes here for secondary stats is we'll go over haste real quick. You might feel really slow with less haste, but like I said before, haste does not affect Preservation Evoker like it affects most of the other healers. So haste is only going to contribute to a few abilities here and your HOTS, right? So haste affects global CD, it affects your HOTS, and it only affects reversion, temporal anomaly, and verdant embrace. That's it, nothing else. There's no other benefit from haste for Preservation Evoker other than what I just stated. So keep that in mind. It's not as good as you think it is, and you can heal super high keys with like really low haste. Doesn't matter. Next, for mastery, as I mentioned before, having more versatility helps you survive more and keeps you at higher HP, which contributes to your mastery, because the higher HP you are compared to the other people in the party, your healing is going to be increased, right, by the amount of mastery you have. So I know that's a lot to take in while you're also trying to heal a key, but over time and more practice, you'll understand and figure out what works best for you and what doesn't. Also considering your comp as well. So the next thing is going to be consumables and item enchants for Mythic Plus. It'll be kind of subjective here because you do need to push towards a stat that you need desperately, and obviously I need haste. So starting off with my rings, I'm going with as much max haste as I can. If I had gem slots, I'd be going for haste gems or the haste crit gems, etc. I think haste crit's really good to a certain extent, and then once you have enough of that, you might start stacking versatility on these, higher keys you go. So I'm rocking haste on my enchants right now. Watcher Salome increases my stamina on my boots, and then there is a belt buckle that increases your stamina, I think by 106. However, it's really expensive right now. I'm not buying it because I'm probably going to replace this belt. On my weapons, I have Sophic Devotion. It's going to be the Int proc. I think it's like 900 and something. And then on my chest, I am rocking Waking Stats. For my cape, Graceful Avoidance. Stack as much avoidance as possible in Mythic Plus, in my opinion. Some people try to argue about Leech, but in a 5-man environment, I think every healer is going to benefit from avoidance. The higher keys you go, then Leech. And then for my bracers, obviously avoidance as well. So these gems also that I have, I'm trying to proc my fire on my lariat. Since I'm still rocking lariat, I'll probably replace this because I do need to make my best in slot bracers. I'll make sure to share the best in slot items here soon after we go over consumables here. But for gems, I'm trying to proc my lariat, which will be the crit proc. And in order to do that, I need fire gems. So I'm rocking haste, crit, haste being the bigger stat here because I need haste, and obviously same thing up here with the primary stat and crit. So at the end of the day, your Mythic Plus journey should be crit into haste or verse, then into mastery. So next on the list is going to be the food, flask, and rune that you'll be using in Mythic Plus. The food I recommend is going to be intellect, not secondary stat. I think you benefit way more from intellect, and it pairs well with the food embellishment too, that will allow you to keep your food buff after death. So if you have a feast of some kind, or the Faded Fortune Cookie. Those are the two foods that I recommend in Mythic Plus, so you can get the plus 75 intellect for 1 hour. The next on the list is going to be the files, and there's two to choose from. You could technically go with the crit, but the one that I love to use most because more versatility keeps you alive, it's going to be obviously the file of Tepid Versatility. You could also use Elemental Chaos, but it's such an RNG factor that sometimes if you proc the mastery and you're not healing, you're doing damage, that gives you nothing, right? There's no benefit from that during that window. And then for your runes, since I have such low haste, I am choosing Howling Rune, which is going to give me 310 haste for 2 hours. Mastery could be included in here, but I think for Mythic Plus, you want to stick with either haste or crit or your rune on your weapon. And also, if you do not have a mage in your party or you don't have access to mana buns, you'll be using the Delicious Dragon Spittle. That'll give you the fastest amount of mana back over time. So if you need to sit and drink, which as an evoker, you sometimes do and sometimes don't, this is good to keep in your bags though, if you need it. All right, so next on the list is going to be gearing. And we'll start off with your weapon because as evokers, we get a legendary now. So do your best to try to get an offhand early. I thankfully got my best in slot, main hand and offhand, and I'm just chilling at 441 for now. The first thing I made is going to be my Spore Cloak. I spent my first spark on the Spore Cloak because I did get my weapon drops really early on. I felt there was no need to make a one hand. So Spore Cloak is on the list to get. It's great. It will save you from death many times because it has saved my dumb ass, that's for sure. And then next of importance is going to be the adaptive arm guards. So these arm guards are pretty cool. Basically, you will adapt to your current situation for 12 seconds. When you take damage, you'll be granted 234 versatility and crit. When you cause critical damage or healing, you'll be granted 234 mastery and haste. As for trinkets, you'll want this one as Bis, which thankfully I got this first week and I upgraded it all the way. So the Molten Heart's really nice. It gives you some mana overtime, extra healing, and versatility as well. I'm still rocking my crit Shadow Gem from season 1 from my other slot, but the other two that you should be looking out for in terms of trinkets are going to be these two right here. So Black Dragon Skull is going to be your second best in slot, and then the third best in slot is going to be the Call to Chaos, right? The class trinket. All right, so next on the list, we're going to be reviewing talents, and there's two specific builds that I want to go over. We'll go to the left side here, and I'm going to pinpoint the important things, important talent choices, we'll say, that you should be going for most of the time. And then after that, it's kind of up to you how you want to play, right? So first off, Disintegrate paired with Energy Loop on the right side here. If you're not taking Energy Loop over here, I know some people take Rewind. If you're not taking Energy Loop, this doesn't matter. You'll want to pair this with Landslide. Landslide's good for charging abilities from mobs, but between this talent, which is Disintegrate channels 20% faster, paired with this one, it just makes your Disintegrate insane, right? The next important one is going to be Instinctive Arcana, and that's just going to increase your damage. I highly recommend this one as you lose. We're already like gimped on our damage now from losing our 4 set from season 1, so that's going to be an important one. The next one's going to be a Pressing Roar. It will increase the crowd control effects. The next one on the list is going to be a Lush Growth. Lush Growth is very important, self-explanatory. It's going to increase all your healing, because most of your spells are green, healing spells, right? Semi-important ones, right, are going to be Cauterizing Flame, Inherent Resistance, Draconic Legacy, Blast Furnace, and Leaping Flames. So I've seen some people take talents out of these and put them here, or Aerial Mastery to give you 1 additional charge of hover. But as I said previously in the secondary stat discussion, the more survivability you have, the more healing you'll do. But if I build full into these two, my stamina will be increased by 6% and I'll take less magic damage, right? If there was a dungeon out there that has more physical damage bosses than magic, maybe take a point out of this one, put it into Rescue or put it into Aerial Mastery. So that's something you can do if you're interested in that. But if you're confident in your ability to move when you need to and jump when you need to, etc., this is my left side build that I run almost all the time. I never change hardly anything everything up. So yeah, that's the left side. The right side, this first build here, once you get your tier set, you want to make sure you're going into Spiritual Clarity to get that Spirit Bloom cooldown reduction. And since we're kind of gimped on damage, you want to stay in this middle line here as well. The most important abilities in the right side here is going to be Grace Period. This will contribute to your tank healing. This is about all we have in terms of our single target healing. So as long as you have reversion on a tank and he's taking giga damage, if you're dumping healing into him with the reversion on him, he's going to take 10% more healing, right? So once you get your 2 set of the new tier, this is going to be important. Spiritual Clarity reduces the Spirit Bloom's cooldown. And then from here, these 2 are also important, but not important. Only because at some point you might need to go into the safe build and you'll have to remove these and our damage will be lowered even more. So once you remove these and go into the build I'm about to show you, this becomes extremely important. So make sure you keep Instinctive Arcana to at least keep, your Living Flames and other various damage abilities up. So the safe build that I'm about to build into is benefiting off of Dream Breath here. And I've seen some people run either Font of Magic or the new Rewind. This is my secondary suggestion. You'll take some damage away and go into a stacking Emerald Blossom / Giga Crazy Dream Breath build, right? So your tier set that you have on right now is going to increase Dream Breath by 15%, and then you get an extra 30%, 45%. Dream Breath healing is insane. So if you are struggling healing, this is a good recommendation build. I'll apply this and show you kind of how Ouroboros works here. I would only take Ouroboros when I get a 4 set, right? I don't have 4 set. I'm only 3 set right now. But when I get my 4 set, I'll have more echoes to dump out. Echo procs, we'll say, from Essence Burst, and it builds Emerald Blossom stacking, right? So I get 2 and it goes to a max of 5. So 90%, and then another one comes up, we're at 120, and then a max of 5 will be 150%, right? So the example of when you would use this, let's say you're in a key and you've dumped out 5 Ouroboros stacks, you're on a boss fight, Tyrannical Week, everyone has to stack for a certain boss mechanic. You would drop an Emerald Blossom, and when it comes out, boom, you're healed for, I just got healed for 161k. It's really good, but very strategic as well. So if you are struggling healing and you have 4 set, this is a good build to go. If you don't have 4 set, but you're still struggling with healing, you can take this out and go either Spark of Insight, or you can go Power of the Nexus, which I think most people go Power Nexus for this, but I don't run that. Once you get Evoker down pretty well, this is going to be the build that I will run and that I recommend first choice at the start of the day for Mythic Plus. All right, so let's go over rotation for Mythic Plus in 10.1. This is going to be a bit subjective, mainly because you might still have your old tier set. I do. I have my 2 set, and basically it says empowered spells increase reversion's chance to critically heal by 25%, right? So a lot of the times whenever we're going into a fight or I'm positioned myself behind everyone, the main thing for rotation and Evoker gameplay is positioning. Don't worry about anything else until you understand how to position around your teammates. And in Pugs, it's a nightmare. I'm going to tell you straight up, it is rough to get behind someone or get close to range, but the best thing to do is when you have another ranged in your party, kind of get close to them, close enough to where whenever you're trying to heal, they're in your line or cone, and then when you need to spread away from them. But I would just try to stay as close as you can to one of your ranged players. Now, are they always going to stay near you and or run away? There's no telling. Anything can happen in Pugs. So just keep in mind, playing Preservation is going to be a nightmare to heal range, because everything I just mentioned will happen more than once, and there'll always be a person that will try to run away from you. It's ridiculous, right? So make sure your temporal anomaly game is up to par. You want to aim correctly to try to get as many people as you can. That's usually a good start. So going into fights, boss fights, mob pools, etc., always try to do your best to pre-TA, right? Don't spam TA because it does cost a lot of mana, but try to get this little absorb shield and an echo from TA out on people. So if you are running your 2 set like I am, say like we're about to, go into a fight, you TA everyone, you're behind them, everyone gets TA'd, they have an echo, you go in, You do your fire breath, and then you have this little time bender, right? So I'm going to reversion. My reversions are going to crit. I have my leaping flames, which is going to be this talent right here. And between leaping flames, fire breath, depending on how long you hold it down, and your deep breath here, you should be doing well over 100k DPS, you know, anywhere between 100 to 300k DPS at the start of a big AoE mob pull, we'll say. After that, our damage does fall off, and all we do is just sit here and spam Living Flame until we get procs for Disintegrate. If we don't need to use an Echo, we're going to sit here and spam a lot of Disintegrates, and we're just going to keep Living Flame. And that's the damage rotation. Not hard at all. But to review, tank goes in, you're behind everyone, positioned pretty well. You're going to TA everyone. TA goes off, everyone gets Echo. They get the TA absorb, tank pulls, you pop your trinket, pop my crit trinket. I'm going to try to get max stack fire breath if I can. I'm going to shoot my Living Flame because I have 4 of them there, right? And then I'm just going to sit here and spam Disintegrate and Living Flame. Disintegrate, Living Flame. If you know you're going to need more echoes soon, don't waste your essences on Disintegrate unless it's a proc. And that's your damage rotation. Really simple. So the healing combination and combos that you can do with Echo and other things with Preservation is what makes it a bit different outside of the cone healing and stuff compared to other healers, right? It can get extremely advanced, and then it can be kind of brain dead as well. Some things you can do with Temporal Anomaly, you want to pump that out, and because you're running Grace Period, it's always good to make sure you just hit one reversion for everyone as it's ticking. So when you do apply a Dream Breath tick, they're getting healed for 10% more because they have reversion because of Grace Period, right? If you don't have a reversion on someone, don't feel bad, it's not the end of the world, but you'll want to try to always have reversion up on the people you're healing, mainly because of the increase in healing. Temporal Anomaly goes out. Remember, try to use it mindfully. Think of Disc Priest. If you know damage is incoming, you know, push out a TA 5 to 10 seconds before damage comes in. Pump out a reversion, everyone has reversion. Pump out a Dream Breath, damage comes in, everyone takes damage. They have multi-hots on them, healing them up from that damage, right? Spirit Bloom, once you get your 2 set, it's also the same case. With the new 2 set, you can have 2 reversions out on someone. You can have 2 Dream Breath hots out on someone. So reversion, 2 Dream Breath. You can have, it doesn't show 2 Spirit Blooms here, but there are 2 Spirit Bloom hots ticking at the same time. They just go into one hot. So I'm fully hotted up. You're basically like a Resto Druid now, but better. And that's the breakdowns of heal over time for Evoker. Some other cool things that you can do with echoes is whether you put out a Temporal Anomaly or you're echoing someone from base echo. Keep in mind too, with the new changes last season, Verdant Embraces Lifeline and Temporal Anomalies echo, right? When I put out Temporal Anomaly here, this echo is reduced, right? So it's not going to be the full amount of what 105% can be. It'll be 45%. So using echo as itself is going to give you the most healing, but you also use essences when you use an echo, unless you're getting free essences, free procs, say, from Essence Burst. But keep in mind the difference between them. So Temporal Anomaly, weak version of echo, original echo is your best version. So technically, if you get a lot of procs once you get your 4 set, you can have the max 105% echo out on everyone. And then some cool tricks to do with that is once you have echo on everyone, you can Verdant Embrace and everyone has this buff. And then you immediately hit Emerald Communion. Everyone is getting healed 42% more than they originally would without the Lifeline ability. Sharing 42% of healing to an ally, right? So when you don't have that and you just hit Emerald Communion, basically it's going to overheal them for much less, right? And could possibly get them killed. So that's a cool trick. Another cool trick as well is Stasis. The thing with stasis and your cauterizing flame, which removes bleeds and diseases and stuff. We'll say, we'll give an example. Spore Caller Zancha has the disease ability, right? The Festering Harvest, where all the pods burst and apply decaying spores. Since this removes diseases, what you can do with stasis is you can hit stasis and you can go through each team member and hit Cauterizing Flame 1, 2, and 3 times and store it into stasis. So when those diseases come out, you'll hit stasis, it removes 3 diseases and resets Cauterizing Flame for yourself. So you can remove 4 diseases on that boss. And if there are any other times, which I think some of the crocodiles and other, we'll say mobs in Oldemon, they have bleeds as well that you can mess around with. Some of the mob packs in there, they'll have bleeds, and you can store bleeds into stasis and remove bleeds for people who don't want to kick the crocodiles. That's something you can also do. Normally what I do, like we'll go back to Oldemon, how I use stasis is this boss right here, Telandris, has a nasty bleed in there, and you can remove that bleed with Cauterizing Flame. What I normally do is before the big AoE goes out, which is going to be the Crushing Stomp, before that big AoE goes out, I will stasis, have 1 Cauterizing Flame on someone to remove the current bleed that goes out. That bleed is called Earthen Shards right here. As you see, it says it's a bleed. You can remove it. I'll remove that one with stasis. So I'll do 1 Cauterizing Flame. I'll do a Max Spirit Bloom, or if I can get a Max Spirit Bloom, then I'll do 1 tick of Dream Breath, stored in there. So the next stomp that comes out, Crushing Stomp, I'll have this stored in there for a bleed removal. If it's not on the same person, I'm kind of shit out of luck. But I'll also have AoE healing to burst out as well. So that comes in, I'll hit it, everyone gets healed. Maybe a person's bleed also gets removed. If not, Cauterizing Flame gets reset regardless. So anytime you put Cauterizing Flame into stasis, the ability gets reset. So you'll get to use it again no matter how much time it has left. It's really great. All right, so one thing I did not mention too much was the Oppressing Roar. Basically on pull, if it's a big mob pack, you can't use Oppressing Roar on bosses and stuff, right? Because you can't CC bosses or stun them unless it's maybe a mechanic specific thing, etc. Normally, whenever I'm running in and I'm behind everyone or about to pull a big pack, we'll say Temporal Anomaly, right? Into Fire Breath. Let's say I do 3, I'll Reversion, and then once everything is all packed in and I see everyone's ready, their CDs are up, leg sweeps up, whatever, Oppressing Roar, hopefully someone CCs, and then I'll do my regular rotation, right? So Living Flame into Disintegrate. All right, and lastly, the abilities that I'll discuss in your rotation are going to be Subjective Use. That'll be your Lust. That's going to be your Zephyr and Rewind, right? So the Rewind, I want to say use scarcely. Try not to use Rewind at all, right? The best way to get better as a Preservation Evoker is never press this button. Only use this, I mean, in the most oh shit moments, right? I've done almost 200k HPS this season so far in a couple of these 5-mans, mainly because this would be my last resort. Try not to hit this button too many times. I do my best not to press it. So if you ever watch my live streams and you see me not pressing Rewind, it's because I know it's an easy button to press and I can heal and do better than pressing this button. So, and the other ability is going to be Zephyr. Of course, I recommend taking Zephyr for almost everything. There's always going to be some type of AoE in a dungeon, and you'll want to press a Zephyr before the AoE comes out. So Zephyr basically, it says, will conjure an updraft to lift you and your allies up in the air, right? Very small. I mean, it's basically like when you press hover, you're just kind of hovering up in the air, right? It's kind of like levitate, we'll say. But the main thing here is it reduces damage taking from AoE attacks by 20%, and it increases movement speed by 30%. I've seen a lot of people press Zephyr for movement speed increase, but I don't think that's the way you should use it. Sometimes if you know you're not going to be using it at all within the next 2 minutes, maybe use it. But the biggest thing that you want to maximize Zephyr for is AoE abilities. some mob packs. I know in Oldemon there's an earthquake ability by one of the big stone guys, big AoE, hail of stones as well, big AoE. Zephyr will counteract all of that, you know, reduce the damage everyone takes by 20% as long as they're in range. There's a lot of tyrannical bosses that have AoE blasting abilities, like the first boss in Neltharion Slayer. AoE, so use Zephyr. It'll help you out, help your healing out, save you from a lot of death. Make sure you're using this as consistently as possible. And then the other thing is going to be your Fury of the Aspects. This is your Lust. Thankfully, in the dungeons, there are scripted areas for using Lust. If you make your own routes, you'll know when to use Lust. I have this on a button, a keybind that's, I wouldn't say it's hard to press, but I know I don't press it a lot. So that way I don't fat finger it or accidentally press it, right? So make sure you put that on a keybind that you're not going to use a lot, but use it accordingly. On bosses for Tyrannical Week, certain mob packs for Fort Weeks. I can't really think of anything else to talk about, so I'm going to conclude our journey here. Thank you for making it to this part of the video. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. Comment below what you want to see next, and I'll try to add as much as I can in the description. If you're interested in my weak auras, or my add-ons, I'll make a whole video about that. Just let me know. I appreciate everyone. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you again for the next video.